Hi. This video I removed the throat plate lifter lever, and the throat plate is right there, and these 400s and 500s, they have a lifter lever, or sometimes it's called, or the more official title I think is throat plate adjustment lever. I call it throat plate lifter lever, and that's what that does. It lifts the throat plate, lets them recede like that. When I put it up, it's up. When I lower it, it's lower. So to adjust this so that it sits flush correctly, I go underneath, and there's a nut, and it has a slot head screwdriver cut into it. I'll show you what I mean. So the nut is, or screw, is right there. And this one is metal, and that's why it's a dark color. They also come in plastic, and they're not quite sparkling white, but they're like a clear or beige, white, opaque color. And this is how I was able to adjust those pins at the top that the throat lever plate slides into. And those pins where that throat plate was situated on the bed, where those throat plate clamps, I guess? I don't know if I'd call them that, but that's where they are. One is there, that's the right one, and then behind this nut is another one just like that inside there. And that's why I say the way to adjust how high the throat plate goes up or comes down is by that nut right there. And what you do is you make sure it's released, and then you push on that. Now that's fairly tight right now, and that's why there's very little. Oh, there we've got some adjustment there. I had to move it over. But that's how there's pressure on this because of the throat plate pins that are pulling down on that throat plate. And the way this is all adjusted is there. The other important part of this device is this right here. This is the lever that controls the throat plate adjustment, or the throat plate position. So yes, this is the throat plate positioning lever, the throat plate adjustment lever, the throat plate lifting lever. But when it is centered like that, it is in its neutral position, and when it is over to the right, it is basically the off position. Over to the left is what I call the on position. And when it is on the left, it looks like this. And those pins have come up, and when I when I push the lever to the right, they go down. And there the lever is actually more to the center. Because there's no plate in there, they're going down a lot further than I thought. So, but that's how to adjust and control the pressure on the throat plate. So in this switch here, we have the lever, we have the control, there are two screws. This is a faceplate or a name plate or a title plate, and don't use anything harsh on that, like crud cutter or a wire brush, or don't use a wire brush or sandpaper on that. The finish will come right off. It'll just go aluminum, silvery aluminum, same as that down there. Been there, done that. But this can be left on while this is dismantled at the other end. And the way that is done is there's a screw there. That screw will disconnect this lever from the bar below that goes to the other end of the sewing machine underneath the hook, underneath the pins for the throat plate. So it is possible to take it all out and still leave that intact. And then the way to remove this, is to undo these two screws, and that would be the start. That would be where I would start dismantling throat plate positioning lever, doing a removal. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove these two screws right now. Let me get a little, ouch. Now I have had this apart a couple of times at least, and it has been cleaned quite well. And these screws, I don't know what kind of metal they are, but they're quite, as far as metal go, or screws or steel or whatever, they're not steel. They're quite malleable, they're quite soft. So you want to be careful that you don't strip the heads or the threads. So there the screws are out, and here comes that little plate, and I just have to rotate it to get it over the lever. And now what I see there is the first, I wouldn't call it a spring, I'll call it a plate. There we go. And so there's the two holes for the screws. This is flat on this side, and this goes all the way across from side to side. So let me pull this up, and I'll rotate it as well, just like I did with the little nameplate. And on the top it's flat, but on the bottom, not in the middle, but closer to the right. Well, maybe it is the middle, I don't know. But anyway, right there is an indentation, a grinding, and that clearly is to work with this lever down here. So that comes off. That's the first thing. The next thing that is in there is another spring or lever, and that is down there. But it is held in place right now by this lever because the lever, can I get it? I did. The arms on the lever right there, they sit in there. So this sits up like that under the lever. So it goes that lever and then that. So the lever would be sandwiched between there, and that's how it controls it all. So I am going to take the lever out, and I have to adjust it. Oh, I lost my fulcrum, my lever ability. But anyway, it's a slot head, flathead screw. I need something with more torque, a longer screwdriver. There we go. Now I can use my skinny little short. And that's how it looks. That's how it looks now when it's empty. And it was really messy. There is a little bit of residue mess. I have been working on it, getting it cleaner. A lot of times when I'm cleaning these, I use machines, I use oil. The other thing I also use is water or dishwashing liquid. Dishwashing liquid is a very good cleaner. It's a very good soap. And okay, back to work. So that is off now. Now we got other stuff to deal with, because underneath the hook there, things are going on. Indeed. And there's our nut right there, and that's how I control, like I said, that pin in there. Now that this is loose, it has already come apart. We see there's a, to release this I press in, whoopsie daisy, I push in, and then I just unscrew this, and out it fell. And we can see that it's metal. We'll put that in there, and now the whole bar is free. And what I would like to show you is how this goes together. You just line that up like that, put that screw in there like that, and then just tighten it. So while it's apart, I'm going to leave this has all been cleaned, so it's good to go. Well, there's a little bit of marking there. Maybe it's not as clean as I thought it was. Anyway, I'm going to leave that screw and that lever on there and for a minute, and then I'll start. Well, I still have to finish getting the tubes out. So I didn't have the camera on, sorry, but here are, so there are the two tubes, 1, 2, the two springs, 1, 2, and the two pins that go inside the tubes. And this bracket, it goes, so here's the tubes, put in the pins, And then I'm going to turn them upside down, hold to make sure the pins don't fall out, and they will. And then, and the other thing I want to make sure is that when the whole thing is together installed, those two slots have to face each other, because that's where the throat plate slides under in those two slots. So those are on. Now I take this and I put it on like that. So I've still got the two pins in there. Now I've got that like that. And then I take the springs and I put them on. And then, like I said, you want to turn it so these slots are facing each other, kind of like that. And you can tell because the tubes have a flat side there. So that's how that works. And then what's going to happen is the one is going to go in there and the other one is going to go in there. And they look really different because that is the one where the nut goes on there. And that's where I do all the pressing with the lever to make the adjustment of the space on top. So that's what's going on there. So I'll leave that nut out because I'm going to need it. And when they go in there, it's more a case of just getting them started in the holes, in the tube holes, and then just letting them hang. Because what's going to hold them in there is not them being pushed all the way in by me installing them. What's going to hold them in there is that rod after the nut is on. And you'll see these bumps there and there. Is it there and there? Or there and there? No, it's there and there. Those are the bumps that push the pins up and down. So as the lever moves back and forth, the pins come down off that bump, or whatever, whichever direction, I guess that way maybe. And that's how it all happens. But this nut is what applies the pressure to that. And that's all dictated by the springs on the pins. So let me get these pins on there. Be a man of action here, and I'm just going to put them in there, and let them hang. That one's lined up, that one's off a little, so I'll just, whoopsie daisy, there. And that's not correct, because that is touching there, that's contacting there, and that's not supposed to happen. Okay, this is how it goes together. See how it's sitting against the springs? So here's this little black bracket, and it goes across like that. So if I turn it, I'm just going to pull it forward towards me, and you can see how it goes down there and across and then goes back up. So that's the way I'm putting it on. And the pins are inside the tube. And I have to make sure that the spaces face each other like that. And it's easy to do because that one especially, well, they both do. They have a flat side and it fits right onto that clip, that spring. So I put the springs in. And now, like I said before, the plan is to get these in the tubes and let them wait for the bar, the arm. So they're there. Yeah, I know you couldn't see that. So they're in. There they are right there. And now I can go and install the lever. I'll install this. Watch. So what I'm doing now is I had safely stored the screw in there, so I'm undoing it so I can install this. So I'm going to install that into the bar. It goes on there like that. That's how that bar goes on. And this is the nut, the black metal nut. And it's got a flathead slot screwdriver set there. And that's what it looks on the inside so that it can line up on that bar. And that's how it's able to slide back and forth and still keep the pressure and all that. So understand that when you see that, you have to press that in first so that it comes out of there. So I'll press in, thread it in there, and all I'm doing is just putting that there to hold it there. Now how do I want to angle this to... Okay, so there's the hole that I have access to tighten this lever here to that lever up there. And so what I have to do is align this orifice with this hole. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to align that correctly so that both those holes are lined up. The second hole is where my screw is going to go. And here's the lever, so I'm going to put it there like that. Then get that little screw, drop it in there, get the screwdriver on it. There, that's snug. Now I can turn the machine up and we'll go up top for a minute. This is how it is assembled. First I take the short spring, and when you look at it from a side aspect, we see that there is a hollow, a U shape, and that's where the bottom of the lever is going to go in there. So just put that in there and let the lever sit in there like that. The screw will go through there after we get the other parts. So now we've got the bottom spring, or the bottom plate, and the lever, and now we've got the top plate, or the top spring, and likewise it has a flat side and it has a side with a bump hollowed in. And the hollowed in side, that hollow side goes down. We want the flush side, the flat top, on top. So I just want to line up my lever like that and hold that while I pivot this on, like that. So that feels weird, but that's okay. Now I'll get the little nameplate and the two screws. So now I've got three things for the screw to go through: the nameplate, the top spring, and the bottom spring. Sometimes it is awkward. I'm trying to make sure the bottom one, you know, the way to make sure the bottom one is pressed over is to put the lever as far over to the right as I can, I think. You know what, I'll put it in the middle like that for now. Okay, that's why I want to have that lever over to the right. We get it over, cool. So I got to make sure it's over to the right when I got everything assembled, and then everything will line up pretty close. There, that seems to be a good spot. Let me get my probe and line all three of them up. I could see all three of them. I could see they were askew. Now that doesn't feel exactly flush, and it's not. So I think there's going to be an issue there. Yeah, it's not flush, so let's not even waste my time. Let's see what happened there. That should be seated better than that. So I'm going to loosen them. Looks like that one went in flush. Let me back this one out. No, that's not good enough. Okay, let me try that again. That goes like that. That goes like that. They're different. This end goes on the right. There, it's in. Now I don't want to turn this machine, pull this machine up and find pins down there. Good, there's no pins down there. You know what, it's looking good, it's feeling good. Let me get that plate on, that throat plate, and see how it lines up once it's installed. So, watch there. I've got the lever over on the right all the way, and that's the middle. It's raised a bit, and it's raised all the way. It's all the way to the left. And then they slide right out. And then put them back in. And then the first time I did it, I cleaned them all. But that was a removal and a replacement of the Singer 401A throat plate adjustment lever. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed playing with this sewing machine. And I want you to keep safe. I want you to have fun. I want you to please subscribe. And I want you to come back again. Adios, amigos.